multidisciplinary teams, support teams involved in internationally funded research projects, obtain international funding, as well as implement complex international research projects. Her development program work experience has been at the Development Bank of Southern Africa in Johannesburg from 1990 to 2001, the International Development Research Center from 2002 to 2012, and Colton University from 2012 to present in Ottawa in Canada. Before a career in public administration and development, Eloise was a political and economic journalist in South Africa. So she understands our South African environment very well. Her academic qualifications include a BA in African politics from Rhodes University in 1981, a MA in development studies from Wits University in 2011, a diploma in policy and program evaluation from the Colton University in 2021. From August 2019 to September 2021, she has been a volunteer for Academics Without Borders. It's a Canadian association of universities that facilitates academic and administrative interactions with universities in the Global South. In this capacity, Heloise has been volunteering at Mangosuthu University of Technology since August 2019, and she has been involved in the evaluation of the academic literacies program. She was the team leader from 2019 to 2020. She's been involved in a cost-effectiveness analysis of MUT's blended learning policy to save the academic year during COVID-19 from July to August in 2020. She's also developed monitor and evaluation framework for the University Capacity Development Grant on Project 1, on Student Support Services for Teaching and Learning Development Center from January to May in 2021. And she has also been helping the Research Directorate with the development of a monitoring and evaluation framework on Projects 8 and 9 from the University Development Capacity Grant. And she's been involved in that from May to September 2021. And so we are currently in the process of developing proposals for further collaboration with MUT. So very welcome, Heloise, and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I was on mute. That's such a terrible thing. Hi, good morning, Annette, Minnie. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. I want to thank you for hosting me on this platform. It's a real honor to participate with you. I want to greet Vice Chancellor Ramacholi and the rest of faculty and top management. It's a real pleasure to be with you this morning. Can everybody hear me? Is that, it's all good? Yes? So I'll get going. As I said, as Annette pointed out, my relationship with the MUT goes back to BC, before COVID. And so I'm, very, very pleased that we can continue to build on this idea of internationalization with MUT. So here's a thought. What is internationalization? What does it mean? And I'm sure you've been spending quite a lot of time just thinking about that idea. I thought I'd grab, a good definition from the literature on what internationalization for a university involves. And as you can see here, there's the suggestion that it's more than just international cooperation and academic mobility, but that it requires operational, structural, and pragmatic changes in the institution and institutions that are involved. requiring the formulation of policies and the implementation of strategies. So I'm happy to share a bit about, you know, our work in internationalization. I work in an organization called Carlton International, and it falls under the Office of the Vice President, Research and International. And my focus is on international projects, but we'll speak more broadly about Carlton first. So I just thought, you know, it's good for you to know Carleton is a university in the capital city of Canada. That's that third other country in North America. It's not the USA. We're not south like Mexico. We're right up north, and it's a huge landmass. But the population is roughly around the same size as South Africa. So quite a sparse development across the, you know, the continent, close to the border of the USA. And the size of Carleton is you know, quite considerable. We're just near 1,000 members of faculty. We're what you would call a research intensive university. We do not have a medical school. Our largest school is a school of engineering and design. And Carleton just recently, in 2017, celebrated its 75th birthday. In other words, it was formed just after the war with returning soldiers who wanted to an education. So it's really formed by the community. Its governing structure is community. Another interesting factor from a research point of view is that the IP, the intellectual property at Carleton, is owned by its faculty, not by the university, which makes for a really interesting role as a research facilitator. My role ends up being, you know, helping a whole lot of faculty members who own their own IP to collaborate internationally. In terms of size, you know, we have, you know, 29,000 in I think pre-COVID, we might have gone up to 30,000 students, although I understand there's quite a strong registration process, uptake in registration since COVID. So 30,000, let's say, undergraduate students and roughly 4,200 graduate students at Carleton University. And just so that you have a sense of what the capital city is all about, Parliament is in Ottawa, and I'm going to share this video. This presentation with Jay so that he can put it on your website. There are a couple of links inside the presentation. Please go ahead and look at these links. This is a video about our SIMS laboratory, that's immersive media studio, where point cloud rendering of 3D modeling for civil engineering is used, both for restoration, and there's restoration function here of Parliament buildings being done, but also of Kitikanzibi, a local indigenous community, and a lot of work in the UNESCO, a lot of work on conservation in the UNESCO high places, UNESCO heritage sites, as well as the modeling is now being used for biological models, for describing membranes, cellular membranes. So it's really interesting work. I wanted to show it to you, but I don't want to take too much of your time. So just so that you know, we have a strategic integrated plan in which we recognize Carleton's role not only in Ottawa, but also in the world. And so our role of, being a good force, being able to reach out and work internationally is a very important part of our strategy. This is a really strange spider-like image, which I love to show because it shows our thinking around that international ecosystem. And what this means is that not only the Office of Carleton International is engaged in internationalization, but every aspect of the university deals with some form of internationalization, incoming international students through the registrar, outgoing placements through cooperative learning, various international mobility programs and so on. And through Carleton International, we host a sort of a coordination function. As you can see below, diplomatic relations are managed through Carleton International. And then my role, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about my role, which is to leverage expertise at the university, leverage their knowledge and support them in finding international research funding. But before I get there, let's talk about the idea of Memoranda of Understanding. We do have several active memorandums of understanding, and just showing you here through the intensity dots, you can see that our international relationships stretch far and wide, and it's really a way of two universities signaling that they are interested in collaborating with each other. I also wanted to say that we host many visiting scholars. In 2019, 2020, before COVID, that year alone, we hosted 185 visiting scholars from over 35 countries. And the faculty that they love to come to is our systems and computer engineering, mechanical aerospace engineering, mathematics and engineering, civil and environmental engineering, biology, computer science, geography, environmental studies, electronics, and political science. Furthermore, and this is more now about our research portfolio, Carleton has really grown in terms of leveraging research. We made, I guess, a decision about 10 years ago to become research intensive, and Carleton's now recognized in Canada for the university with the fastest growing research portfolio, and hence, the type of work that I do. I have to say that I represent international funding, but there's a whole army of people, one per faculty. In fact, they've increased them, 2 per faculty. These are research facilitators who are there to support faculty, to generate income from the national foundations, also from the National Research Foundation, from international funding such as foundations, and I work a lot with US, European, and now UK funding sources, as well as Canadian international funding sources. So again, once you get hold of the presentation, you're welcome to click on the links. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about Carleton's focus. We're very much an advocate for energy efficient public policies, very strong focus both in the field of public policy as well as in engineering. There's a very strong component of autonomous vehicle research being done at Carleton University. Our physics laboratory is huge. And in fact, we have faculty members who are, governing members of CERN and the ATLAS program, the global particle physics research. We're very big in cybersecurity, in deep learnings, as you would have noticed. The computer science faculty is very, very big. And produces a lot of alumni that go into the IT industry all over the world. The there's a very interesting network of researchers working around global refugees, looking at forced migration, as well as, you know, Carleton is a leader in accessibility services. And that means that we focus a lot on the issue of physical and other disabilities as they relate to technology, to learning support, to academic support, and so on. Huge emphasis here on sensor technology, robotics, and so forth. And then again, sustainability and climate change. Those are the focus areas that I would say Carleton is engaged in. Now I'm coming to the crux of my talk, and thank you for letting me tell you more about my university, because I'm trying to get you interested in engaging more with Carleton University. I've put up on the slide something that I call the roadmap to international funding. And it's a continuous process. And as Annette mentioned, my interest is also in evaluation. So for me, when you're developing a project, you're also thinking about how you're going to build on that knowledge for future programming. So for me, that's the continuation. You never start a project and just think it's going to go on forever. You have to think about its beginning and its end. You have to think about how it's going to contribute to knowledge, to change, and you have to think about how you're going to get that knowledge into the public domain, so that you can demonstrate how your project has had an impact. And once you can demonstrate that impact, then of course funders are very interested in putting funding back into your pipeline. So my sense of developing an international research program requires that you think very holistically from the beginning of how you want to support your faculty to get into international consortia. Now, a note here, I have to say that faculty who are ready to go into international consortia generally have a very settled career already. They're not still climbing the ranks to get their credentials in place in terms of their national trajectory of being published, being recognized locally by the national science foundations. They tend to be, from a Carleton perspective, they tend to be faculty who are full professors and are ready to work internationally, have developed fairly good relationships internationally. That's not to say that young faculty don't come in with international funding. Many faculty move here from the US, from Europe, from Africa. They bring with them and India, from Asia. They bring with them research funding that they've already established in terms of relationships with their original host universities, with partners in other countries. And my function is to help them sustain those relationships, and to provide the kind of support that's needed, institutional support that enables them to continue doing that international research. So we provide also a function of making sure that they have access to knowledge about funding. We engage, we subscribe to a large database called Research Professional, which enables me, especially, and my colleagues, to be able to search for funding by tags, by keywords, and so on. Our library subscribes to that for us. And then in terms of research development, research facilitators are there to help focus the faculty members on the proposal writing process, on any administrative and eligibility criteria they have to achieve or demonstrate in order to participate in their research, in international research opportunities. So for instance, say we're working with, I don't know, the MasterCard Foundation. We as the research facilitators will certainly be engaged with the foundation in any kind of due diligence that is required to understand whether Carleton is eligible for its grants and so forth. But we also help with thinking about the proposal, thinking about the achievements, the desires for the objectives, the expected changes that that a project seeks to achieve, and so on. And then once the research award, if successful, when the research award comes in, we make sure that we get that signed and put it into our database so that in fact, the database starts way back in the beginning, but gets all the fully executed agreements in place so that we can hand over that agreement to our finance department so that they can open a research account, and the faculty member then has a research account which they can start supporting. Now, one of the thoughts I had is that one of the portions of expertise that I bring to the table is when faculty are applying for these large consortia agreements, I try to give them as much support and advice on how much administration goes into managing a large international grant. And I normally help them to think through how they should employ a grant-funded employee. And someone who would be an international project coordinator. So they would create a job in the grant, which is funded by the grant. And that person would, these are positions held by people with project management expertise, international expertise, and who are become coordinators, that administrators for these projects. So also linking them with the human resources component of the university to make sure that the employment of that person goes ahead. These projects also create, opportunities for research awardees, for students to become highly qualified. So there are salaries for students, masters, PhD level students, postdoctoral students. We have policies relating to pay for students involved in those enterprises, those project enterprises. And I have to say, at the same time, we look at when we're doing our due diligence how the intellectual property will be owned. We want to make sure that students own their own intellectual property, so we always will negotiate for that. And then when the research agreements get going and you've built a project that might have partnerships with other universities, both here in Canada or internationally, we support that project in doing sub-agreements with those partners. And then we support the principal investigator to make sure that they've developed a project monitoring framework, that they're collecting enough information to be able to report to their funders. And then, as I said, you promote your research, you with key performance indicators, you make sure that you can demonstrate how valuable and what a strong contribution your project has made internationally. And that is how you build up a credibility to continue to work with the same funders over and over again. I'm referring you here to, this is just a website which I've created, which demonstrates to you where our international funding came from in the last year. As you can see, mainly Europe and North America, but the projects have implications all over the globe. And I just wanted to say, in terms of our engagement in Africa, We are very engaged with African projects, with African partners. We're very engaged with international exchanges and with visiting scholars, not only student exchange. I don't really deal with student exchanges, but we build relationships where we collaborate on large international projects that include universities in Africa or NGOs in Africa. And I'm going to speak about a couple of them. So here's an example of where the European Union funded University of Pretoria, and one of our faculty members from the Institute for African Studies is hosting a whole webinar, which is part of the Aurora project. So we are a sub-recipient of European funding coming through University of Pretoria. This is on Europe-Africa trade, and we have expertise in trade, international trade, not only in the Institute for African Studies, but we have a Center for Trade Policy and Law. We also have a Center for European Studies, which has been funded by the European Union, I don't know, probably, for the past 20 years. And we have to reapply for that funding. We have to demonstrate the expertise we hold. We have a Center of Excellence in European Studies. We have a network of research in European Studies, and we host several Jean Monnet chairs at Carleton University. So this just gives you an indication of the kind of interaction we have with Europe. I want to talk about a project of great importance to us, which is a project where we have received funding from Universities Canada, which is a bit like USAF or Universities South Africa. Universities Canada has managed over many years the Queen Elizabeth Scholarships, and the Queen Elizabeth Advanced Scholarships is a package of money that they continue to get funded, and universities have to bid on hosting PhD students from developing countries. And our latest program, which we successfully won from, in this competition, is focused on women PhD and early career researchers in West Africa. And the way in which that project is constructed is to provide a research mentoring experience and supervisory experience with Carleton University in a short scholarship, fellowship really. And as part of that short fellowship, and they range between 30 and 180 days, as part of that scholarship, when travel can resume, there will be, the scholar will be hosted at Carleton University, and then a third of their time will be spent at a partner, either in Canada, through the Association of African Canada Business Association, Commerce Association. They will be hosted by businesses in Canada, or they will be in research placements in one of four of our partnerships in Africa. One is AIMS, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. The other is Impact, which looks at social justice issues around resource extraction in West Africa, especially in the DRC and in Côte d'Ivoire. The other partnership is with CODE, which is an NGO that is engaged in teacher education and improvement of the enabling environment for primary education, especially girls' education. And the fourth partnership, I've now gone blank. So these are our partners in West Africa, and the research awardees will experience what it is like to be a research a research consultant, basically, with one of these agencies. But the whole idea around our project, which is called Wurintana Yorubutu, which is Hausa language for a room of her own to write, is to create an opportunity for scholars in West Africa, women scholars in West Africa, to either finish their PhDs or focus strongly on the research content of their PhDs, as well as gaining experience of working in a research placement. So I've told you this detail because Annette and myself and Katie, we've been talking about the possibility of creating or extending a memorandum of agreement with Mangosuthu University of Technology to be able to host a couple of your women scholars. They would be funded by MUT, and I'm working with Annette at the moment. We're busy looking at and evaluating past programming for accelerating the careers of women academics at MUT. And this would be one activity we'd engage in to support women academics. As Annette mentioned, my experience with MUT goes back somewhat to before COVID, and during COVID and through COVID. I worked very closely with the Academic Literacy and Learning Unit, the Writing Center, with, as you can see there, Dr. Chile, who was head of Student Support Services, and we were fortunate to be able to present some of our research experience in terms of internationalization, and let me say, focus on symmetrically engaging with each other in a conference that was hosted in South Africa by EASA. And I think that is all. I thought if anybody is interested, I have here the programs that Carleton is well known for. If anybody wants to know about those programs, I'm not going to continue speaking right now. But as I said, I'm going to be sharing my presentation with Jay so that he can put it up on your website. Over to you if you have any questions. Annette?
Hey, Louise, I think the only thing that remains for me is to say thank you so much for this lovely presentation. I'm always amazed at the amount of opportunities that are available at Carleton University. And I hope that next time when you do this presentation, that there will be South Africa on your list of MOAs, and that we will be, in the top 5 or something like that. So I will definitely make an effort to enhance our collaboration with you. So thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. And I truly look forward to our journey over the next number of years. Thank you.
Indeed, so do I. Thank you so much, and do let me know if I should stay on or if I can leave. I'm happy to have a conversation.
If anybody would like to talk to Eloise a little bit more. Maybe
What should be sent in the presentation, you know,
Yeah.
because I think it needs a closer loop, you know, and further
It will be on the website in the next 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
yeah, I
Then you see what you see that.
I'll post the link on the chat. It's /iWeek.
Eloise, I see there's a question from Ms. Mbali Mkhize.
Yes.
She's our Senior Director for Marketing and Communications.
Hi, good morning.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Bonnie.
Nice to meet you.
I would love to see you. Put on your camera.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me check. Let me check if I'm decent. Hi.
Lovely to
Is that
meet
better?
you. Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to, well, thank you so much for such an informative presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I think there's still a lot that we need to learn as we make our slow journey towards internationalizing MUT. I think you gave us so much information and we do appreciate that. Just one question. I've got about 2 questions. The first one has to do with funding. Are you registered or do you subscribe to some international funding agencies or donor agencies?
Actually, it's a database which we use. I have to say 2 things though. If I think about how we get our information about data, about where funding comes from, this would be let's call it a passive approach, which is you know, to have the research professional database, which is it's a subscription model. In fact, research professional, one of the reasons I strongly recommended we go with research professional rather than Pivot, which is the other large one, is because it had an African office. In fact, a South African office. And so they do active research on finding what is publicly known about funding opportunities globally. So you can do a search. I'm going to try in the background while I'm talking to you to just pull it up so that I can show you what it looks like. But that's a subscription service. So your university would have to, you know, commit to, I think it's, truthfully, you would have to go and negotiate with the I think Ex Libris now owns it in the US. But look up research professional in South Africa. They should have a local correspondent or local office. And through doing your, you know, a faculty member would come to you and say, you know, I do research in, I don't know, you know, permafrost. I want to work with Russia. You know, I can look up through those keywords whether or not they're funding opportunities that are targeted for that particular interest. But then we also work with advancement. So our Department of Advancement, obviously they have their finger on the pie with all the international foundations and foundations nationally. And I work very closely with the institutional research facilitator who is our liaison with the University Advancement. And so she also extracts from their table. So they don't fund research, right? They are looking for cutting those big checks for, you know, student, for buildings, for building buildings and for
bricks and mortar, yes.
Exactly, bricks and mortar, and they're looking to, you know, support scholarships and so on, whereas we funding research only. So we do get from them, you know, a database, and we regularly look at those opportunities, and we run a newsletter for our faculty. So on a weekly basis, we have a newsletter that goes out that provides all the links to every one of the research opportunities that are current, and we break it up by, you know, national opportunities and then international, you know, multidisciplinary opportunities and so on, so that the faculty members are used to being able to, you know, find their calls in a particular place. I think the newsletter goes out once a week. But now, having said that, that's a lot of work, and you need a dedicated person or a person who's dedicated to doing all that scrounging around. I have to say, the research professional, this database I have mentioned to you, that actually has the ability to customize your own website, to build that into your own website. And, you know, if you train your faculty to be searching for their research funding, once they've developed a profile, it's a bit like creating a social profile for themselves with the interests and key searches that they're interested in. And once they've established those links that, you know, they've done a search on a particular, you know, biotechnology, and I'm interested in biotechnology, and I don't know, you know, organic chemistry, what will happen is the research professional will continually send them any new updates of any new funding that comes into that field of scope. So you can provide, there are systems, you don't necessarily have to employ people, but there are systems that you can subscribe to that you would help to develop that, let's say, permanent research funding pursuit, and it's there for your faculty to pursue. You have to train faculty to use it, though.
Okay, yeah. Then another thing which we picked up on Monday, and Annette and I are still to talk about this, is that a lot of our faculty have collaborations with a number of universities outside. And I'm not sure to what extent even Annette knew about those collaborations. So what bothered me, based on the little experience I've had on internationalization, was that it may be obvious that our faculty are being exploited by those universities, because I would assume that when there is a research project, there needs to be an allocation which comes to our own university for time and effort or whatever it is. How do we go about rectifying that and ensuring that there is value for money for the university?
Well, you see, this depends on faculty, right? I mean, I have found that faculty at Carleton University will engage directly with another university, and they'll take the funding directly to their personal account. So you have to check whether they're not getting paid anyway. But that is not an institutional arrangement. So we have and this comes back to the policy. The policy we have is we have a signatory policy. So who signs off on engagements? Who signs off on those consortia projects? So for instance, I'll give you an example. A faculty member who might be applying to, say, the US federal system through a university in the US, because normally the funds that we get, most of the funding we get from the US is through a sub-award to Carleton University. The prime recipient is sitting in the US. The US likes to fund its own universities. But the expertise, if the expertise is in Canada, they will sub-award to Canada. So that process of collaboration has to happen at the notice of intent stage. They come through my office, we review their budget, we review to see whether the budget complies with our policies. You know, they might say, I'm going to employ a student. Well, they can't employ a student with benefits and support, insurance and liabilities, if they don't follow and comply with Carlton's policies, right? So often if faculty members have already engaged in international funding partnerships and they A, haven't been paid, or B, they are being paid but it's not coming through the university, you are losing income because your university should be generating indirect income. And our indirect policy, we have a very clear indirect policy, 20% minimum. However, we have to adjust that minimum indirect cost of research policy when funders, pay less. So, for instance, International Development Research Centre only pays 13%, Global Affairs Canada only pays 13%. If we work with the US, we don't have what is known as a negotiated indirect cost of research administration. We don't get the 50% that Stanford gets, we get 10%. But that 10% is important. That 10%, we have a policy on how that funding is administered by the university. 40% goes straight to the university administration, 15% comes to the Office of the Vice President of Research, 15% goes to the faculty, 15% goes to the department, and 15% goes back to the researcher. So the researcher builds up their own research account in addition to the other funding that's flowing for that particular project. So inculcating or socializing the idea of the indirect cost of research at your university. First of all, you need a policy. Secondly, you need to communicate to everybody what the value is of that indirect cost of research. And thirdly, you need gatekeepers like myself who make sure that when those grants are being applied for, that indirect cost is built into every budget, that they've complied with all the other regulations and policies that relate to engagement for research or use of research. So I'm very sad to hear that in a sense, faculty members need to be empowered to understand what it is that they're getting into when they get into an international consortium. Who owns the intellectual property? How are they contributing? All those things, these are check boxes that you have to go through to make sure that they understand what they're getting into when they agree to participate in an international collaboration. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. I will engage you separately on issues of protocol and policies as we start developing and establishing this international office. Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure.
And I may as well also thank Dr. Bryant Katie for suggesting your name, as well as Dr. Mini. Thank you very much, colleagues. You could not have chosen a better person to run this session.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mbali. Thank you. All the best to
Thank you, Mbali and Louise. Just to say that at the moment, everybody who do enter into research collaborations, we do have all our policies and procedures in place. We do have a policy on costing and pricing of research projects that deals with all the indirect costs. It's spelled out in great detail on how that will work. There's also a similar system, interestingly, where we do have research trust funds. So if people have money from various places, there's money that goes into a trust fund. Also, monies from the research publications go in that fund where they can use it with minimal administrative red tape to further their research. An additional thing in South Africa is we do have a law called the Intellectual Property Rights from Publicly Funded Research and Development Act. And that act says if there's one rand of public money in a development project or a research project, it must be exploited to the benefit of everybody in South Africa. And that act also prescribes that every year we submit what we call a IP9 form with the financial data of each university. And then they've got a formula that can calculate the overheads for each university. And we get a certificate allowing us to ask full cost for a project and also to indicate what our overhead should be. So those kind of systems are very interesting to work with, and I think that our basis is correct in that way. The foundations are laid. It's easy for us to collaborate with any other national or international institution on the systems that are in place. So yeah, so I'm very happy to report that we are there.
That's outstanding. I just wanted to give a response though, and that is that faculty members need to understand that you have their back, because I still find, I mean, I still work, you know, there's one faculty especially, the business faculty, where it's so easy for them to just be consulting and, you know, providing, you know, generating income for themselves. But when I explain to them that when they're out there on their own and they're not engaging through an institutional agreement for their research outputs, they are not covered by the university's insurance for liability. And, you know, that in and of itself is a reason why faculty members will recognize that, and they should not be using university resources if they're providing services to outside industry or, you know, even other universities. So I think it's about communicating what you've got, Annette. It's about making sure faculty realize that if they go it on their own, that you don't have their back. You can't, because you institutionally can only protect researchers who are bringing that research through the university administratively, institutionally, for institutional sign-off. You know, I'm just picking up on the question that was asked me, which was that you've discovered that faculty members have been exploited. And faculty members should not be exploited. You should, you know, in any way in terms of international exchange, international agreements. Sub-awards should go directly to the university. The university then takes the responsibility, but administering that funding, making sure the faculty member gets the research award. That process must be clearly spelled out. Faculty members can easily say, "Oh, that's just bureaucracy. I don't want to get engaged in it." It's a culture. You have to build that culture. You have to communicate it as a benefit to them that your research office is providing. And also, they love to say, "Oh, that indirect money that you're going to take." We say, "No, we're not going to take it. It's for the university and it's for them." It flows back to their faculty. So as you said, Annette, you create a trust fund. So it's communicating that information. It's very important.
Yeah, I think as far as research are concerned, people are very informed about this, and they are very keen on their trust funds. It's a very important thing for them. So I think this is very important. I think where we lack a little bit is on consultation, where there's provision for university consultation and private consultation, and the benefits of doing it through the university, like you said, is spelled out. That those kind of things are there. I don't think people are as aware of the consultation. So, but it's a work in progress. So I think every year people are more informed and things get better. So, but I am very proud of our research community, I must say that. And then I also would just like to make an announcement to say that all the presentations are on our webpage. Even Eloise's one is there already. So if you go to www.mut.ac.za/iweek, and then you click on the presentation that you are interested in. So this presentation is there. And then anybody who needs questions for Eloise or myself, you know that you are most welcome. So thank you, Eloise, once again for your valuable advice and guidance. It's always appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, and bye.
Hi, Jay. Are we continuing on this platform or are we moving to another platform?
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah,
The same subject. We are continuing on this platform.
Thank you.
We're scheduled to start at 3:30, the next 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I should say thank you too. This is Professor Musupye, and I'm going to be presenting.
Hi, Prof. It's Mali here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Happy to see you. What time is it that side?
It is 5:28 a.m. in the morning of Thursday.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we do apologize about that.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. I do have a PowerPoint. Will I be able to share it?
Yes, we should be starting in the next 2 minutes. Who's chairing this session? Is it Mr. Ndaba?
Yeah, it's Mr. Ndaba.
Jay, is Mr. Ndaba still with you that side?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me hand over to him. Thank you.
They will help me. How do I share my screen? Show participants, hide.
Maybe to be on the safe side, can you quickly email it as well?
Okay.
Is it too...
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll forward it to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Is this Lisa or who am I forwarding it to?
To both Mbali and Lisa.
Okay. Let's see. Bongo Lisa. Mbali. And then the subject line says MTU and Sacramento State. I'm sending it now. You should have received it. How do I share screen with this?
Nothing yet, Prof?
Really?
Yeah, nothing yet.
I hope it has not bounced back. No, it has not bounced back.
Oh, I think it's just coming.
Oh, okay.
Over to you, Jay. I've sent it through.
Okay. I think I have it.
It is on.
Yeah. It's
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, a very good morning to you, Professor Boatamo Ati.
Good morning, CG. Good to see
It's
you.
late in the day here
Good
on
afternoon.
our side, and may I begin by extending, my thanks for your participation. And after we had an initial meeting with the senior management at Mangosuthu University of Technology in September, you will recall, Prof, that I sent you an email message, and then I told you about the goings on at Mangosuthu University of Technology and of whether the California State University in Sacramento does have some exchange programs with the previously disadvantaged institutions of higher learning in South Africa. And Professor Mosipe, you did raise your hand and you stood up to be counted. And thank you for participating. I remember that on Saturday, you sent me a WhatsApp message to say that you will indeed be following as many sessions of this International Week at Mangosuthu University of Technology, and that you will be presenting. And before I forget, a happy Thanksgiving Day to you, Madam. And I'm happy to see you today. We haven't spoken in a long time. And thank you for reconnecting me with Ambassador, our friend, Ambassador Tili Mukantabana, whom you introduced to me before she took up her position in Washington. Professor Mosipe and I have known each other for more than 10 years. During the time that I was Consul General of South Africa in California, servicing, amongst others, the whole 13 states on the west coast of the United States. I had been invited by CSUS, the California State University in Sacramento, on a number of times. And we've also shared stage together during the celebrations of 95th birthday of the father of the South African nation, Nelson Mandela, in July 2013. And sadly, 6 months down the line, we also shared a stage, both in San Francisco and in Sacramento, during the memorial services for the icon of icons. A very good morning then to you, Professor. And you have the floor on the discussion of how best Mangosuthu University of Technology could become international savvy. In my short presentation on Tuesday, I did inform the participants that there is a lot of goodwill on the West Coast of the United States, in Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, in Oakland, in Berkeley, in Sacramento, where you are based, and that it would be good for Mangosuthu then to tap on that goodwill which those people had for the father of our nation, South Africa, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. You have the floor, madam.
Yeah, thank you so much, CG. I'll say again that this is Professor Boatamo Musupje, also commonly known as ID. And I want to say a little bit, but as I continue with my presentation, I will make also reference to the work that we have done at SecState with Consul General Ndaba as well. I am happy to be here and then to explore the international collaboration and also talk about how can we be savvy. What I'm going to do, I'm going to focus mainly on students, even though I'll make reference to professors, to faculty, administrators, and staff. I'm very happy to be here and to be invited by Consul CG. He'll always remain CG to us here in Sacramento. I've worked with CG, and CG, if you don't mind, let me just share this little personal thing here, that when CG was about to leave, the university was so, Sacramento State University was so thankful for him being always available when we called on him on important, meaningful occasions, and also, wanted to remain connected to South Africa. When we were about to honor him, I still have that plug, I'll bring it to South Africa. When we were about to honor him, that event was canceled on his insistence because my daughter died. And then CG said, no, Prof, and all of you here, colleagues, just forget about honoring me now, let's bury the child. So that is remembered so well. And when I told people that we reconnected, they either want you to come and take that plaque from everybody in the university, or I'll bring it. I'll see who wins and how it's going to go. So, and I want to start my presentation by acknowledgement and remembering. I did listen to CG the other day, CG Ndaba the other day, when he was giving his short presentation. He made reference to the apartheid work in the Bay Area. I was a student at the time. When we came here, there were so many anti-apartheid organizations that we worked together to form an anti-apartheid network, so that all these organizations should work together instead of operating in silos. So we worked a lot, and then Sis Lindiwe Mabuza was stationed in Washington, D.C. She would occasionally come and give us direction. And like CG said the other day, this work was very important work, with many, many people, including the famous choir, Bay Area choir, Vukani Mawetu, that when Nelson Mandela, when the late Nelson Mandela came to the US and to the Bay Area, we welcomed him, and then that was a very good event, and an event that solidified the way forward. So we build on those formations. It is also very important here to talk about the foundation laid by CG Ndaba. The fact that he was always willing to come at all cost, to come when he was called upon. It's one thing to do your job. It's another thing to go beyond the call of duty. And CG did that. And then I know with SecState, he laid a very, very strong foundation. So for the purposes of this collaboration of MUT and SecState, that foundation is laid. We just have to continue to nurture it. And then I'll talk about that, the benefit of that foundation, as I continue with my presentation. I know I have limited time, but I'll try my best. Where to start? Have we already started? I'll say yes, we have already started, right? And I said I was going to focus on students, on what we can do with students, how we can help our students. That's part of being savvy with internationalization. Building relationships, we have to be intentional when we build our relationships, right? You have to know your objectives. You have to know that you have to have integrity. You know that you have to nurture those relationships. When I was listening to CG, and then I'm saying that we should also be courageous. CG says he said, he quoted the scripture, you have not because you seeketh not, right? We need to not be afraid to ask. But what I'm going to say next is very important. When you ask in your own right as an MUT institution that has the resources, the human resources, you have the human capital, human capacity, you have you have a lot of attributes, you have a lot to give. So when we do this collaboration, which I hope we will, and then you will see as I proceed with my presentation that I have, I'm suggesting concrete, smaller steps to take. SecState is part of 23 universities. It's part of 23 universities. So if MUT collaborates with SecState, that collaboration should be injected with a lot of courage to say it's not only SecState. We can go to San Francisco State, which is our neighbor. We can go to San Jose State, which is a neighbor of San Francisco. We can go to Marcos, and then we can go to LA. Already, you know, CG has a very strong roots in LA, but I'm talking about Northern California. So to be savvy, to use these connections, these intent to collaborate, to say, and I'll tell you what we have to offer, to say to other universities here, other CSUs, to say, look, SecState and MUT are doing this for the students. Can you come in? We are asking, we are not begging, we are asking. So to be courageous in those intentional objectives. And then also to believe, we really need to believe that we can get what we want if we really want it. The trust SecState with Cyril Ndaba, MUT is very fortunate because that trust has already been established. We just have to maintain and sustain it. Let's see. Okay. So, you know, what is it that we, we intend to do, or what I would like to see that we do with MUT, what I would like to see SecState collaborate with MUT on which aspects. And I believe that we have converging interest. I'm going to talk about student exchange more than I talk about faculty and academic exchange, but administrators exchange and staff exchange. And then the reason why I'm going to speak about student exchange, CG will remember when we brought him to sex state all the time, it was also per requests of students. The students would come to me and say, Professor Musupi, are you going to bring Consul General Ndaba? Is he going to be here? And all the time I would say it with confidence that yes, I'll make that happen. So students, our students also have an interest in Africa. And then for more than 10 years, I was running, only the second slide. I'm now on the, okay. I don't know what to do because I'm now on the Converging Interest International Collaborations. I don't know if they can help me that side to make the slides visible. I'm saying that I for more than 10 years, I was running a program which is still in existence. It is called Woodson College Enhancement Program. And this program offers scholarships to students of African descent. It was, the program was intentionally created by the founders, Dr. Scott and Dr. Coven, and these people, two people are still alive. And we have anonymous founders, I'll keep it that way, anonymous founders who make sure that students of African descent, they don't have to spend money to buy books. Books are very expensive here, especially I was looking at MUT, what you are mostly science-oriented, business-oriented. In those faculties, as we call them in South Africa, colleges, as we call them here, the books are very expensive. They can be like $3,000 a semester. So like $6,000 a year. So students who participated, who still participate in this program, they don't have to buy books. I bought, or the program bought books for them every semester. When they are in the program, they then compete amongst themselves for scholarships. So it means that these scholarships are open to the students in the program, not to the entire university. And this is to help these students to be able to concentrate on their work and not have to worry financially. They also participate in community service learning. We pair them with mentors, community mentors and faculty mentors, and also peer mentors. So this is a program, it is already there. The students who participated in the program up to this day, some of them still ask me about you, CG. They remember when you were here and after Nelson Mandela passed. So, we have already cultivated that. So when I'm looking at the MUT student exchange, I'm looking also on how we can partner with CWC, Woodson College Enhancement Program. And then I'll talk more about student exchange. For faculty, academic exchanges, there are many resources that we can use. One of them is Fulbright. A faculty from MUT can apply to Fulbright in collaboration with us. And then we can then host that faculty member. But I'm not concentrating on this a lot. I'm coming home and I'm hoping that we will discuss this on roundtable. But for the purpose of this presentation, I wanted to concentrate on students. It is also important to have exchange with administrators. We can learn from each other, and also staff. Unfortunately, most of the time we forget staff, and the staff, I don't know how I would have survived in all my professorship and administrative positions where I was supported by staff. I don't know if CG will remember Ms. Thomas, who was always the one who was facilitating events. Okay. So, right, how can we really help our students? How can we really help our students to be willing to engage in exchange programs, to be willing to venture out internationally? Of course, we need to make sure that they are aware that going to a different country, going to study to a different country might be very, very scary sometimes, but it has its benefits. They will develop awareness of international dynamics. They'll be exposed to innovative learning methods, and I should be careful in presenting this. This is not suggesting that MUT doesn't have innovative learning methods. And then I go back to my first slide, that when we ask, we come to the table also in our own right. We are not begging. We are going to mutually exchange skills, knowledge, approaches, right? And then we are also part of the dynamics. So, and then for students, there'll be stepping stone to personal growth. If students from Sac State, we can do that. If they, we make arrangements, they come to MUT, they will grow personally. And then if we get students from MUT to come to Sac State, they will also grow personally. And, to be engaged, for students to be engaged in these exchange programs, you are planning them to be functional in a world economy because their global perspective increases. And then, as we know, the world is so global that these students will be employable. At least their chances of being employed increases. And then you create lifelong bonds. You really create lifelong bonds. And then you gain literacy in navigating diverse global environments. These points that I've just talked about, I'm going to expand a little bit on them. Expand a little bit. Let's see what is. I'm sorry, please. Yeah, expand them a little bit with this slide. I wanted to be concrete. I wanted to come with, okay, theory, it's fine. This, what we can do to be internationally savvy, we can do 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I wanted to come up with a plan, a short-term plan that we, Sac State and MUT can discuss and say, where can we start? Where can we start? What can we do? So this is not a novel plan. This happens worldwide, but we can make this Sac State MUT activity program focusing on student. Why don't we come with a short-term exchange program? We would have told our students that this is what you have to expect and this is what you need to do to be able to be successful. So, but talking about the short-term plan, what if we start with a few students, not more than 10? And then we have a 3 to 6 week duration program. And both institutions, we explore a program that will give the students a credit. I don't know how the program will look like, but that's for MUT and SecState to sit together and put their heads together and come up with something. I can have suggestions, but not dictates. A program that will allow a mutual learning of two cultures. And I'm talking about the American culture, that's fine. But also I'm talking about the cultures of our two institutions. This, the CWC, Cooper Woodson College Enhancement Program, the one that gives scholarships, it has become the culture of SecState, that other groups have emulated it. And we don't apologize about that. The Asian American, they have created their own recently. CWC is about 30 years old. But they have created their own calling. They call it Full Circle. And it is maybe 8 years old. And it is built around the idea, all the principles and policies of CWC. Native American, the Native American program is thinking of establishing the same thing. And then the Latina, the Latinx community also have their own, which is almost similar to CWC. So that CWC has become the culture of SecState. What can we learn from that culture and then to use it to be savvy in our exchange programs? And then I'm envisioning that these short-term programs will build on the skills that students come with from MUT, and then just put them together with what SecState has to offer. MUT is an African university. CWC, it's a Pan-African program. So we have common ground there. So we build on the skills that the students bring to engage them in this short-term program in volunteer work. And then I'm seeing that the students will have a choice to live in host families, or we can arrange some other accommodation. There's a lot of emerging leader program. Again, CG Ndaba knows. A lot of our colleagues here who also are asking about him a lot. We have a program here called the Africa Peace and Conflict Resolution. And then we have started with Dr. Uwazi, a program of emerging African leaders. They call it a fellow program. I want to change the name. I want to convince them to change the name. So we can partner with that. We can partner with these programs like this to really give MUT and SecState students very enriching experiences. And then, of course, I'm also thinking of peer mentorship. Peer mentorship where students mentor each other with our guidance. I have to acknowledge the times that we are in. We have the virus, and the virus, it really affects our. When I say our mental health, I hope you understand what I mean. It's injecting uncertainties, fear, stress, isolation. But I have but in big numbers. We also have our common humanity, resilience, support, connectedness, and hope. And then I'm saying all of this because I want us to start doing something together. I'm really excited about this, and I don't want to lose this opportunity. and it's just a great opportunity. And I'm a South African like Pap and Morogo. I'm still South African like Pap and Morogo. I have not lost that, but I happen to be here in the United States, and then I happen to have been in this institution for so many years, and I see potential of giving back to South Africa. And I can't thank you enough, CG. I really cannot thank you enough. And I'm approaching this with a discussing savviness, but really with some concrete, small steps, plans to put in place if we can. I'm going to conclude by saying that California State University has international exchange programs. There's one that is a CSU wide that is open to students. And then they also have exchange programs also open to Sac State students. These are there, they are established, they are there, and we can still participate in them. But my focus here is Sac State, MUT, and student exchange, and then how we can help them start helping them and then pushing forward this, the direct connection between CSU and Sac State. And then we can, we can extend that. I don't have a problem with that, but I just want to start like as soon as we can. Thank you, and see you next month. Hello?
You're still
Yes,
here.
Prof.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah,
Well said,
I thought maybe I
always.
lost connection. So
And I knew that you were going to talk about Vugani Mawetu Choir. I have this, you see the colors, and I'm wearing a t-shirt depicting Vugani Mawetu. And Prof, I think that my colleagues here with me would really appreciate that, tapping, in the game of wrestling, in the wrestling matches, where you have tag team partners, you take one team, and then you take so many. This California State University family of 23, you can just imagine. And then again, you and I, Prof, I think that we irrigated the very seeds that I was talking about, which Madiba planted on the west coast of the United States. And our friends are still there. If I can just tell you another story, because I still communicate. I've tried to discourage, the people like you constantly refer to me as Consul General when there is a sitting consul. It's a second one after my departure there, that there are Consuls General that side. And then, but they write to me always. Dr. Fred Jordan, you know him, the president and chairman of the San Francisco African American Chamber of Commerce. I wrote to him recently congratulating Congresswoman Barbara Lee. You know her. She is the chairperson. She's a chairperson and a friend of South Africa for that matter. She's the chairperson of the all-influential foreign relations appropriations subcommittee in Congress. She's a ranking Democrat. And it's not me, but it was Dr. Jordan. He wrote there, he said, she has got your back. Because they are also fighting, to bring back, the state of California used to have an office that was taking care of trade and investments, for the state of California, the fifth largest economy in the world today. So now that our friends, like your good self, are still there, MUT, I've seen they've done a lot of great work. I have been sitting here listening to, taking part in all the sessions, and really, wow, I say a lot of groundwork has been done here. by the senior management of the Mangosuthu University of Technology, and by Ms. Mkhize and his team, who have put up, a great program in which you are also a participant. And then I've always spoken about smart partnerships, between institutions and including also businesses there, because there is still a lot of goodwill, amongst the people on the west coast of the US, particularly in the San Francisco Bay, Oakland, Berkeley, and Los Angeles. And we still have those friends. And then again, just last night, after having listened to one session here, and I dropped a message, an email message to Hugh Molodzi. He is in the Silicon Valley. And again, I'm just expecting a response from him anytime. And then I've also learned through the session that was held yesterday that there is Professor Francois Jacobs, which Professor Huff was talking about. He is linked to the University of Wyoming, and Wyoming being one of the 13 states on the West Coast, I also covered Wyoming there. So I don't know if at all there are any questions, flowing from this brilliant presentation, of the prof. Is there anybody online? Okay, I'm sure that.
About this one.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your amazing presentation. And like yourself, we are highly indebted to Mr. Ndaba. He has done so much for MUT on many occasions. And I do believe that this is just the beginning now of his post-Consul General work to now dedicating his time to assisting us. There's a lot that we have learned this week and that we are still to learn. I would be very happy to take offline this idea of a students exchange program. Whenever I tell people that way back in the 80s when one was at varsity, I happen to have been one of the lucky students to have been part of an exchange program in the UK. And that really changed my life. So opportunities like this do change people's lives. So I am for host families. We would among the MUT staff here provide the best homes for students from Sac State and hopefully from your side. And I think we could also tap into Mr. Ndaba to see if we could even get some funding from certain government departments to assist our students to experience the culture of California. So it's something that we could discuss when you get here. It is unfortunate that you will not be here during the day on the 13th because the VC has requested all the people who have participated today to attend the research recognition event that is being planned by the research office and his office. So, but I believe that we will get a chance to invite you here so that we could definitely develop a plan on this, even if it's 5 or 10 students as a pilot project. We are definitely into this, and I do believe that we may be able to do this without the university having to spend money on this program. Thank you, and I really appreciate your time and also sacrificing your morning. I know you've been up since I don't know when, probably 2 a.m. or I don't know. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mbali Mkhize. Oh my goodness, I should have thanked you from the beginning. I I'm not surprised. I watched some of the sessions and then I would fall asleep because 1 a.m., 2 a.m. But this is amazing and it shows your work. You know, it's just you are such an excellent organizer. And CG, you have to teach me not to see CG and say Mr. Ndaba, but you know, I was just Miss Mbali or is Dr. Mbali, I don't know, but she so professional, so approachable, so giving. I mean, she's she's excellent. She gave me the most pleasant experience and encouraging me to even work hard so that this collaboration, internationalization between MUT and the CSU should work. So thank you. I have to thank you, Mbali.
Yes,
You're welcome.
Prof. She's an amazing woman. And also married, you know, to a great childhood friend of mine, you know, her husband. And it's not, you know, they came to visit Los Angeles, and I also took them, you know, to the California Maritime Academy. You know, she was reminding me today, I thought that, you know, that ended up in Los Angeles, that visit, you know, because we were working on this project on maritime studies. And I also invited them during my time as Deputy High Commissioner of South Africa in London. So they came there as a team. And for me, it's an institution of choice. If at all MUT says, hey, there is this thing coming, I drop everything that I'm doing, you know, because I have so much love for this institution, you know. And again, I think that you had said, Prof, you are landing here when beginning of December, end of November, beginning of December, and you're leaving in January.
Yeah, I was supposed to come the end of November, and then come with my daughter, but her papers are not right yet, so I had to postpone. So I'm leaving here on the 11th. I'll be home on the 13th. But as I'm listening to Mbali, I'm thinking of changing the date and coming earlier so that I'm there on the 13th. I don't know if I'll be successful, and then I'm coming back in January, but I'm coming back.
I'm sure that Mbali would take that into consideration. It would be highly appreciated, Prof, you know. And let me thank you again. You know, when I dropped you that email, you just came, you know, you just came and you raised your hand. You said, no, we have to work on this. And thanks also again for reconnecting me with Ambassador Mukantabana, because the acting Vice Chancellor has also expressed an interest in Rwanda. And I left a very good name in Rwanda. I have been invited by the Minister of Infrastructure there, who became my friend, you know, Mr. Claver Katete, you know, a highly trusted somebody in the cabinet of Paul Kagame. And he has invited me to go there because they also want to be linked with the West Coast of the United States. I've always told people that California matters.
Yeah.
California matters. Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, and Sacramento. That's where the anti-apartheid movement was strongest. That's where the likes of Ron Dellums, you know, the crafter of that comprehensive, you know, anti-apartheid sanctions bill came there, you know. But it's so sad because people do pass on, Prof. And, you know, there's always silence from Department of International Relations and Cooperation because people, they don't understand why California. People don't understand why Nelson Mandela, immediately 4 months after his release from prison after 27 years, he deemed it appropriate to go and thank the people in Los Angeles and the people in the Bay Area, to say, Californians, thanks for a job well done. And thank you very much, Professor. You've given us food for thought. It was indeed a brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
CG.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving Day.
Thanks. Just one thing, CG, before we close. This is our last session in the week. I would like to thank everybody for participating on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. We're very excited that this has full support of our Vice Chancellor, and already he is implementing some of the suggestions and some of the input that has been made. So, Prof. Masupe, I want you to know that this will not be the end of this conversation. I would also like to acknowledge some of our deans who are here, who have participated, and everyone who has participated, and all our international guests. I'm not sure if Dr. Woodson is still here. We really appreciate his being around. But it would also be remiss of me, Mr. Ndaba, not to introduce you to Dr. John Samuel, who is in the UK. And Dr. Samuel, if you recall, the partnership that you facilitated between MUT and Leeds Metropolitan University was also facilitated by Mr. Ndaba, who was the Deputy High Commissioner in the UK at the time. I'm not sure whether both of you still recall that you have met at some point in your lives, probably in 2005 or 2004. I can't really recall, but I will give you the contact details, both of you, so that you may reconnect. So, well, this whole week we have learned that the world is very small, and it is us who can make the world go round, and we are seeing those fruits already. And on that note, I would like to thank every one of you, and definitely not least, all my team members from marketing and communications. This whole week was planned in less than 2 weeks, if I may tell you, or in less than 3 weeks. But it has happened because the VC entrusted the Marketing and Communications Department. Thank you very much, my colleagues from my directors, Zama and Azwi, our events coordinator, Jade, Lisa Mbongwa, our senior secretary, who has been constantly communicating with all of you. Lisa, you took on a very big role. Thank you very much. And all our publications, media relations people, website person here, Ujay, has been working with a lot of people, and all our stakeholder relations team and PR team. Thank you very much. And to all our loyal colleagues who have been attending the iWeek, we see you, Miss Anna, we see you, Prof. Pakara, and all our partners from Namibia who have joined in, Botswana, and everybody. Thank you very much, colleagues. And may you be safe from COVID-19. May you be protected during the festive season. And indeed, happy Thanksgiving Day, Prof. Musupe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then, Professor Motsupe, we're looking forward to receiving you at MUT.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.